There are certain sounds you get used to as you grow older. The hum of the refrigerator at night, the steady thump of a neighbor's car door every morning, even the creak in your own knees when you stand up too fast. But the sound that began to wear me down, the one that broke the quiet rhythm of my retired life, was the hollow clatter of my trash can hitting the pavement at dawn. It always happened just before sunrise, when the sky was still gray and the street still asleep. The kind of time when only two sorts of people are awake, the ones who love the morning and the ones who love trouble. And in my little HOA-controlled neighborhood, trouble had a name: Karen. She was the kind of neighbor older folks like me recognize instantly. Not because we have anything against people who care about their homes, but because with age you learn to tell the difference between someone who wants order and someone who wants control. Karen lived for control. She held onto her HOA title the same way a child clutches a toy they refuse to share. If the board had allowed an official crown, she would have worn it while inspecting everyone's lawns. For months, she had been finding small excuses to bug me. A leaf on my driveway, my mailbox being half an inch too glossy, a garden hose she insisted was visible from the street. I tried to overlook it. I tried to be patient. At my age, peace matters more than pride. But the trash can was different. Every week, without fail, she knocked it over before the garbage truck arrived. Sometimes she did it lightly, as if trying to pretend it was accidental. Other times she kicked it hard enough that it rolled into the gutter. The raccoons loved it. They treated every spill like an invitation to feast. And I was the one left cleaning the mess while she walked by with her little HOA clipboard, pretending she did not know why the street smelled like yesterday's leftovers. For most people my age, the quiet routines of life become something sacred. You protect them. You fight for them. And for me, trash day was part of that rhythm. I took pride in keeping my home clean, my driveway tidy, and my small corner of the world in order. But Karen seemed determined to chip away at even the smallest comfort I had. The worst part was how she looked at me. Not angry, not even annoyed, just smug, as if knocking over my trash can was her way of reminding me that she still ran this neighborhood and that I still had to live in it under her rules. The younger folks on the street didn't notice her tactics the way older residents did, but when you've lived long enough, you learn to recognize when someone is picking a fight they think you're too tired to finish. The problem reached its peak one Thursday morning. I walked out to grab the newspaper when I spotted my trash can tipped over again. The lid had flown halfway across the sidewalk. Coffee grounds and eggshells littered the street. A group of crows were having the time of their lives. And there she was, Karen, walking away, pretending she did not see a thing. That morning, something changed in me. Not anger, exactly. More like irritation settling into resolve. A quiet, steady kind of determination that only comes with age. The kind older people understand well. You stop caring about pointless drama, but you do care about dignity. You care about fairness. And you care about standing up for yourself when someone pushes one step too far. I realized that Karen wasn't going to stop. She had found a way to annoy me without breaking any official HOA rule. And she enjoyed it. It gave her power. But what she did not know was that the older you get, the better you get at choosing your battles. And once you choose one, you commit fully. That was the morning I decided to make a change. Not by confronting her. Not by arguing. Those never work with people like Karen. I needed something quiet. Something clever. Something she'd never forget. And so the idea began forming in my mind. A plan. A trap. A solution she would never see coming. As I cleaned the street and picked up every last shredded paper towel, I knew with absolute certainty that this would be the last morning she ever knocked over my trash can. The next chapter begins when the plan takes shape. Most people assume older folks lose their edge with time. They think we slow down, soften up, stop caring about the small battles that make life interesting. But there is something age gives you that youth never can: patience sharpened by experience. The kind of patience that lets you outthink someone without raising your voice or lifting a finger. And that is exactly what I needed, because if Karen was good at making trouble, I needed to be better at ending it. That morning, after sweeping up the last of the spilled trash, I sat on my porch with a cup of coffee and watched the quiet street wake up. A few neighbors waved as they headed out. No, one noticed the mess that had been scattered across the pavement only an hour earlier. No, one noticed Karen's little act of sabotage. And honestly, that was fine. I did not need a crowd. I just needed a plan. I started looking into all kinds of options, heavier cans, locking lids, weighted bases. But I knew Karen. If I added a simple lock, she would find a way to break it. If I made the can heavier, she would complain to the board that it was a trip hazard. If I installed a camera, she would insist it violated some obscure HOA privacy guideline. People like her thrived on loopholes. They collected them like souvenirs. So I searched for something she could not argue with, something she could not twist or weaponize, something that would turn her own habits against her. And after a few days of thinking it through, I found it. A self-stabilizing, motion-triggered, auto-locking waste container. Industrial grade. Meant for windy areas, wildlife zones, and stubborn vandals. The kind of trash no HOA newsletter had ever mentioned, because no one in the neighborhood had ever needed one. It did not look fancy. It did not glow or beep or draw attention. But the moment anything tried to tip it over, it locked itself in place and released a loud, unmistakable mechanical snap. It wasn't a trap in the illegal sense. It was just technology doing what it was designed to do. But I knew one thing for certain. Karen had never seen anything like it. The delivery arrived on a quiet Monday afternoon. The driver rolled it up my driveway, shrugged at the weight of it, and asked what kind of raccoons I was dealing with. I told him the animal causing trouble walked on 2 legs. He laughed politely and left. I spent the next hour setting everything up, reading the manual twice, adjusting the sensitivity, and double-checking the locking mechanism. When I tested it, the can barely budged an inch. Perfect. All I had to do was wait. Trash day came 3 days later. I rolled the new can to the curb the way I always did. It sat there, silent and ordinary, with nothing about it hinting at what would happen the moment Karen tried her usual morning routine. As the sky began to lighten, I sat in my living room chair, where I had a clear view of the street. A warm cup of tea rested in my hands. The house was quiet, the neighborhood calm. And then, almost on cue, she appeared, clipboard tucked under her arm swinging with confidence, eyes already narrowing toward my property like she had a job to finish. She glanced around first, as she always did, making sure no one was watching. Then she walked up to my trash can with the same practice motion I had seen for months. She pressed her foot lightly against it to tip it over, but the can did not move. She tried again, this time with a little more force. Nothing. Her mouth tightened. She leaned down, grabbed the rim with both hands, and pulled as if she could outmuscle it. That was when it happened. A loud, sharp click echoed through the quiet street. A mechanical snap that bounced off every driveway and every porch. The kind of sound that startles you before you even understand what it is. Karen froze. Her shoulders jerked back. She looked around in shock, as if she expected a spotlight to shine down on her. Her face twisted into confusion, then frustration, then something close to fear. She had never encountered resistance. Not from me. Not from anyone. Certainly not from a trash can. Watching her step back, staring at the container like it had suddenly come alive, was the first moment in months I felt something shift inside me. Not triumph. Not revenge. Just relief. A quiet, steady relief that comes from knowing you finally took your piece back. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. Because Karen hated losing. And she wasn't going to walk away without finding a new angle. I could see it in the way she lingered on the sidewalk, staring at my house like she was planning her next move. And I knew that whatever she did next would decide how far this conflict would go. Karen did not take failure well. Anyone in the neighborhood could have predicted that, but watching her unravel over a trash can confirmed it. For days after the incident, she circled my property like a hawk, pretending not to look for prey. She slowed her walks near my driveway. She paused a few seconds too long whenever she passed my mailbox. She even inspected the storm drain as if it held some clue that would help her regain control. Older folks understand this kind of behavior better than most. You live long enough, and you see how some people cling to authority the way others cling to comfort. Karen was losing that grip, and she could feel it. The breaking point came the next week. Trash day again. Same routine. My nuke stood at the curb like a small monument to peaceful resistance. I sat at the window, not out of pettiness, but because after months of early morning chaos, I wanted closure. When Karen arrived, she walked faster than usual. Her jaw was tight, and her HOA badge swung from her neck like a warning sign. She marched straight to my trash can and stopped inches away, staring at it as if waiting for it to blink. She tried something different this time. She did not push it or kick it. She reached down and attempted to open the lid, maybe hoping to find a flaw or a loophole she could exploit. But the moment her fingers tugged at the handle, the lock snapped again. Loud, sharp, final. That sound carried through the quiet neighborhood. And this time, a few curtains shifted. A couple of early risers peeked from their porches. Karen froze, caught in the open with her hand on my trash can like a child stealing cookies. She stepped back quickly, trying to regain her dignity, but the damage was done. People had seen her. The illusion of authority she imposed for years suddenly looked flimsy. And for the first time since she took over the HOA, she retreated without a word. Later that afternoon, a notice arrived in every mailbox. It was from the HOA board, not from Karen. A simple announcement stating that residents were free to use secure containers of their choice if needed. That small change said everything. The board had finally stepped in. Karen had been overruled. After that, the knocking stopped, the early morning chaos stopped, and Karen stopped patrolling my property altogether. She still walked the neighborhood, but something in her stride was different, slower, quieter, less certain. Older folks understand another thing, too. Victory isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the calm that returns afterward, the routine you reclaim, the peace you protect. In the end, I did not win by fighting her. I won by refusing to be pushed around, and the solution that stopped her was simple, quiet, and exactly what she never expected. A trash can she couldn't control. And sometimes that is all it takes to remind someone that power has limits.